The heavy blast door shrieked, metal groaning as the frame buckled under a pressure it was never designed to withstand. Vincent Drake didn't use a lever or a plasma torch to breach the seal. He simply reached out and took the kinetic energy of the impact, feeding it back into the bulkhead until the barrier vanished into a cloud of jagged shards. "He apologized," Kira whispered into the suit's modulator, the words echoing against the memory of the arena sand. Back then, an apology was the only thing the creature seemed capable of offering to his betters. The training arena smelled of salt and the ozone of Voxari environmental suits. Kira stood on the observation deck, her internal gases swirling in a slow, rhythmic green of contentment. Below, the prisoner moved through the sand with the awkward, heavy gait of a species trapped by gravity. Vincent Drake was a curiosity, a biological error Kira had plucked from a wreckage and kept like a strange, flightless bird. He spent his time reading to the hatchlings in the nursery, his voice a low rumble that seemed to soothe their frantic chittering. It was a pathetic existence for a creature from a world supposedly known for its ferocity. Kira adjusted her comm badge, which remained silent, pinned to her chest as a symbol of her absolute authority over this space. The Voxari were masters of the atmospheric currents. They were ethereal, gaseous nobility. Yet here she was, babysitting a mammal that leaked salt water from its skin just to stay cool. The human was a soft, squishy thing that required constant feeding and shielding from the very air she breathed. "He brought flowers," Kira remarked to her subcommander, pointing at the wilted, purple stalks in a jar near the human's cot. "From the toxic garden. Survived somehow." The absurdity of the gesture was the height of human fragility. They sought beauty in a world that only wanted to digest them. She laughed, a metallic rattle from her modulator. "He even named my tactical drone buddy." The small machine hovered near Vincent, its sensors tracking a creature it clearly didn't consider a threat. The human didn't look up. He continued to sweep the sand, his movements slow and deliberate. The comm badge on Kira's chest felt heavy, a reminder of the order she maintained. Vincent was furniture. He was a pet that had forgotten how to bite. Impossible. Was this truly the same creature she had pitted for its lack of claws? Kira watched as Vincent paused, his gaze fixed on the ventilation shaft above the nursery. He didn't seem to notice the mocking laughter from the observation deck. In fact, he seemed to be listening to something vibrating through the... Gemini said, "The sirens didn't scream. The silence did." A mind leech, a nightmare of translucent tentacles and psychic hunger, had slipped through the filtration vents like a ghost through a keyhole. Kira felt the cold touch on her mind, a damp weight that turned her internal gases a sickly, pale yellow. Around the arena, her fellow shield maidens collapsed, their suits vibrating with the sound of their internal panic. Their modulated voices became a chorus of static and whimpering. The leech emitted a low-frequency hum that shattered the glass of the observation deck. It was a predator of the mind, and the Voxari were its favorite meal. But the human remained standing. Vincent Drake dropped his broom, the wood clattering against the stone floor. He didn't flee for the bunkers. He didn't cower like the others. He stood in the center of the training circle, his head tilted as if listening to a distant melody. He looked at the nursery door, where the hatchlings were trapped, and his posture shifted from servant to guardian. Kira's comm badge began to crackle with erratic bursts of interference. One step forward. Just one. The room changed. The air around the human seemed to warp. It wasn't magic. It was physics. Every vibration of the leech's psychic scream, every kinetic thrum of the arena's failing life support, seemed to gravitate toward his center of mass. His skin was slick, a layer of moisture covering his limbs that glistened under the emergency lights. Humans use sweat for thermoregulation, allowing them to maintain peak performance while their internal engines burn white-hot during sustained combat. A biological cooling system that lets them outlast any predator in a marathon of violence. Vincent was a furnace of kinetic potential. The mind leech lashed out with a concussive blast of energy that should have liquefied his organs and sent his bones through his back. Instead, Vincent simply absorbed the impact, his muscles rippling as they took the force and held it. He moved with a speed that defied his heavy frame. He crossed the sand in a blurred streak. When he reached the reinforced nursery bulkhead, he didn't wait for a keycard or an override. He ripped the door off. Buddy, the tactical drone, hovered above the chaos. The little machine's sensors were confused. Buddy watched him destroy 9 soldiers who tried to intervene in his path toward the beast. Their armored suits crushed like discarded cans. Kira's internal gas turned a violent, bloody red. Her suit's outer plates began to rattle against each other, the unmistakable sound of Voxari terror. Vincent grabbed the leech by its translucent throat. "I don't do this for your kind. I do this for her." The mind leech was nothing more than a smear of glowing ichor on the arena sand. The threat that had paralyzed a squad of elite, battle-hardened shield maidens was gone, erased by a creature that had brought flowers to a garden. Kira looked down at her hand. Her comm badge was a useless piece of plastic now. It represented a hierarchy that had been proven false in a single minute of silence. She reached up and tore the metal from her suit with a sharp, metallic snap. She crushed it in her fist. The shards fell into the sand, disappearing among the footprints of a giant. She approached him slowly. She wrapped her arm around his shoulder, feeling the incredible heat radiating from his skin. The warrior was gone. Only the witness remained. He apologized. "For the blood, not for saving my life. When the sand settles, will you return to witness the next breaking of the world?"